Okay, what are we doing here, hun?
Today we are making the best banana bread. In this banana bread we have 1 cup of sugar, 1 1/4 cups of butter, 2 eggs, 1 1/2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, some honey, some lemon, 3 bananas, and a teaspoon of vanilla. So banana bread is a quick bread. This goes very fast, so Jason is going to help me with some of the mixing. In terms of equipment, let's have a chat about the bread pan that you use. I have 2 bread pans. One is this guy right here. Thank you. One is this guy. Now this one is a little bit shorter and wider. You can see that this one actually fits inside. It's good for storage, but this of course either makes a larger loaf or a shorter, fatter one than this. I like to use this one. A couple of reasons. First of all, you can see that I have buttered and floured the heck out of this pan. There's a reason for that. When you butter and flour like this, what happens is you kind of fry the outside of your bread. So often if you're making like a sourdough bread or whatever, you're not really greasing and flouring the pan because you're not trying to fry the outside of your bread. But we are trying to fry the outside of this banana bread. It makes the crust really crunchy and delicious. So if you like soft bread, you're going to have to figure out another way to prep your pan. If you like it to be a little bit crunchy on the outside, you like it toasted, this is a perfect way to get that crunchy outside for your quick breads. After you prep your pan, you can turn on your oven or even turn on your oven before you prep your pan if it takes a while for your oven to heat up. Mine doesn't take that long, so I prep the pan, I heat my oven to 350 degrees, and then we get started with the dough. First step is to cream the butter with the sugar. If you have one of these handy dandy guys, I would recommend creaming the butter first, then adding the sugar, and then creaming it again. Just incorporates a little bit more air into your dough. If you don't have one of these guys, you can just use a fork. For a long time I made this recipe just mashing up the butter into the sugar with a fork. In that case I did make sure that it was room temperature butter because hard butter and sugar with the fork is very lengthy. So we're just gonna do this first and Jason's gonna help me.
Yes!
So we want a 1/4 cup of butter, unsalted.
Bam!
Now, I have accidentally copied this recipe and said, instead of a 1/4 cup, I said a 1/2 cup, because I was mixing up the idea of half a stick with 1/2 cup. Seemed fine. Don't know why adding twice the amount of butter made it fine, but it was fine. Cream your butter.
Okay, am I out now?
No. We need the 1 cup measuring cup. Now, similar to the butter, this recipe calls for a cup of sugar. When Clive makes this recipe, I think he puts in less sugar because he's trying to cut down on sugar. I don't care. We're putting in a cup. Two eggs, please.
2 eggs.
Well done.
Can I do it with an egg?
Sure. What happened?
I'm all flexy. Oh, this is a good time for a tip.
Oh yeah, good time for a tip. If you get any eggshell, always crack your eggs into a separate bowl. Steve at Digwell Greenfinger says to do that because you never know when you're going to get a rotten one if you get them from a farm.
And he always says to crack on a
flat surface.
Oh.
Yes, I was going to tell Jason that, but I didn't want to interrupt him in the middle. Always crack it on a flat surface and then break it in your bowl. If you get any eggshell in there, you use the eggshell to get it out, and it comes out super easy. Okay. So here's another little tip. Since we've cracked it into a bowl and we know that they're fine, just pour it into a little well in the middle of your bowl mix those up with your mixer first, and then start incorporating the material on the other side. So give me 1 second. So this is our first part. These are the wet ingredients. If you wanted to add chocolate, you could stir in some chocolate chips to this mixture at this point. We're not really going to use the beaters anymore, so it would be fine. And I'll put chocolate in anything, but I actually don't care for it in this banana bread. I think it holds up all on its own, and it's like the one thing in the universe that doesn't need chocolate. But you can add it if you want. The mixture has two other parts. The second part we're just going to pile on top of the butter mixture, and that's the flour and salt and baking soda. So, real quick lesson in properly measuring your flour. This is the sugar. I wish my containers had labels. So I always kind of floof just like you'd floof a worm bin. I floof up my flour in the container, and then I gently shake it into the container. I never tap, I never mash, but I do then just scrape directly across. And this is a properly measured cup of flour. There's not too much flour. Okay, teaspoon.
Oh, it's gonna be in the burger dishwasher.
So what my husband doesn't know is that I have 2 sets of measuring spoons. Why? Because if I bake on one day and then I bake on the next, and the dishes don't get washed, I still have measuring spoons. Teaspoon?
Pretty proud of yourself.
I am pretty proud of myself, actually.
Actually, I am too.
Half teaspoon.
Who wants to be in the dishwasher every day?
So I keep my baking soda in the fridge, in plastic. I don't know if that makes any difference, but I like to feel like it stays fresher. Sprinkle it on top of my flour. Half a teaspoon of salt. Evenly sprinkle on the flour. Okay, that's that. Okay, now we do the fun part. Things go real quick now. A 2-cup Pyrex measuring cup, and in it goes the 3 bananas. Now, you're gonna say that these bananas look disgusting. I put them in the refrigerator 2 days ago. When you put bananas in the refrigerator, they turn brown on the outside, but they stay beautiful on the inside. So I'm gonna open this banana and see if I'm right. I always open the banana from the end that's away from the stem. That's how monkeys eat them, because then they don't have strings. There's a little brown right there. We can take that off. That might have been just a bruise, but you can see it's not black inside. It looks pretty good. So real quick, into the container. Steve at Digwell made a lovely banana bread, and he said something about something I'd never heard before, taking off the seed at the end, because some people don't like it. Anyway, there you go, Steve. We took the seed out. I've never heard of that before. Have you?
Steve says many things I've never heard before.
Fair. Okay, so our banana's in here. I don't have a juice strainer, I guess. I don't know. I can't find it. If I have one, I don't know where it is. So I'm just going to squeeze some lemon in a bowl. Take out the seeds. Ah, no seeds. Sweet. I'm not measuring. I'm just using the lemon as a way to make sure that the bananas don't turn brown. A teaspoon of vanilla. I don't measure. And a good dollop of honey. Our honey is starting to crystallize. This is a local honey. I think all we need to do is just sit it in some warm water and it would come right back. You do already have lots of sugar in here, so the honey is less of a sweetener for me than it is a certain flavor that it imparts in the banana bread. So Jason's gonna help me with the next part because it's fun. Okay, we're almost there. You take your whisk Mash. Yeah. Oh. You might have to use your fingers to get the big banana bits out of there. Can we do that?
No.
Okay. You don't want it to be super smooth. You want some banana chunks in there to enjoy when you're eating your banana bread. Okay, you've got your flour, salt, and baking soda on top of your butter mixture. Pour this in.
This is like a light floofing?
Yeah.
Or aggressive floofing?
I don't know what your aggressive is. You stir it until it just comes together.
I think that's just coming together now, right?
Looks beautiful.
Okay.
Okay. Just give it a stir with the spatula. Make sure that all the stuff on the bottom has been incorporated. And you can see this is what it looks like. At this point, it is critical to taste the batter. Because that's what it's going to taste like when you're done. That is delicious. Now we pour it in the pan and we cook it. So we've poured it into our pan. I don't bother to level it, it's totally fine. Goes in the oven at 350 degrees. I usually start checking it at about 50 minutes, but most of the time it takes an hour. And we're just gonna stick a little fork or knife in there just to see if it comes out clean. If it comes out clean, we're good to go. So, in the oven. So our banana bread is done, and it has cooled a little bit. I left it in the pan for a couple minutes, and then I took it out. If you're curious whether or not it's difficult to get this bread out of the pan, not the way we prepped it. It comes out easy as anything. And unlike regular bread, I'm pretty sure a quick bread can be enjoyed while it's still warm. So we're gonna bust into this and slather a little butter on it and try it. You can see that the crispy edges have come up and rounded it. I think the original recipe was 375 degrees, but I found that I burnt it too often at 375, so that's why I cook it at 350. I actually turned it down to 325 after half an hour because I thought it was getting a little bit too brown. I think if you cooked it at 375, it would dome up a little bit more. It would rise quite a bit before it got a crust on it, but it's gonna taste delicious. So come, let's try it.
Okay.
When you're testing your banana bread, you could get fooled if you poke into a piece of banana. Figuring out whether you poked into banana or raw dough takes a little bit of time. The end pieces are the best because they have all that crispy stuff on them.
Okay. Cheers. That's awesome.
So yeah, this is definitely what I would consider to be the best banana bread recipe. What I might do, since I'm not giving this away, I might cut it in half, wrap up half, and throw it in the freezer. Let it sit in there for a couple weeks, and then take it out, just let it defrost in the fridge. And then whenever I cut off a slice, it's usually about this big. And then I'll just stick it in the oven and get it a little crispy and then put some butter on it. So I hope you try this recipe. If you do, let me know in the comments below if you did any alterations to it or if you added, I don't know, nuts. I never add nuts. Or chocolate chips and what you did with it. If you do add chocolate chips to it, it really makes a really good French toast. Try that.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
I need to be seen as I know what I'm doing.
You do know what you're doing. Okay, so
you know what's like one of the most annoying noises in the world? I just end up staring at you. I do.